Never Trumper, the odious Bill Kristol. He's the man who helped invent the invasion of Iraq. He is currently worming his way into the Democratic Party. He's editor over at The Bulwark, made up of Never Trumpers, ex-Republicans, and who just hate Trump, but they're not really Democrats. Bill Kristol, see him all the time on MSNBC, the man who gave us the war in Iraq just because he hates Donald Trump. He has an open invitation to be on MSNBC. Bill Kristol said this week, quote, "Sometimes you go to war with the president you have, not the president you want." It's a play on what Donald Rumsfeld said to the soldiers being sent off to Iraq who didn't have the proper body armor and equipment. Because people like Bill Kristol said we could fight Iraq on the cheap. We could pay for it by giving tax cuts to the rich. So when the soldiers started dying because they didn't have the proper equipment, Donald Rumsfeld said, you go to war with the army you have, not the army you wish you had. Something to that effect. And Bill Kristol thought he was being cute this week by saying sometimes you go to war with the president you have, not the president you want. Bill Kristol was saying, I'm an ever-Trumper. I can't stand Donald Trump, but if he's going to invade Iran, I have to support him. No shame. No guilt. As though invading Iraq, which was Bill Kristol's idea, as though invading Iraq, besides being a war crime, was a perfect success. Bill Kristol hates Trump, so he gets to appear on MSNBC, and he's a champion of democracy and the Constitution. But this is the same Bill Kristol from 20 years ago. The same draft-dodging, Harvard-educated chicken hawk who was shouting after we invaded Iraq that real men go to Iran. Bill Kristol's been beating the war drum for Iran, even though he is personally responsible for 1 million dead Iraqis, not to mention the thousands of American soldiers who died. By the way, Bill Kristol killed Hillary Care. He wrote the memo to Republicans saying, if you let Clinton pass Hillary Care, the American people will love it, and Republicans will remain in a permanent minority for decades to come. So he's not only killed Iraqis, he's killed Americans. And now he wants to bomb Iran. It never works. These people have no sense of shame, no conscience. They're war criminals. Remember March when America bombed Yemen? Do you remember that? Remember the group signal chat that Pete Hegseth and got in trouble over? He shared the plans on a group signal chat. What you don't remember is the hundreds of innocent civilians, innocent women and children we killed in Yemen, bombing Yemen. Do you remember it didn't work? The Houthis still firing rockets into Israel. And they never toppled their leader. Trump did something smart. He ended the bombing campaign and said, we won, which is what they used to say that about Vietnam, that Lyndon Johnson should just declare victory and bring the troops home. Trump did that with the Houthis. He just said, we won, it's over. They're still firing missiles into Israel. So let me offer up an intellectual exercise for you. Leave a comment. I read all your comments. And if you can prove me wrong, I issue corrections. So anything I get wrong, let me know. As an intellectual exercise, name one example of any Western country or Western coalition in the last 50 years that bombed another country into regime change. A regime change that worked out best for the people doing the bombing and, of course, the people getting bombed. Can you name one example where we bombed a country ruled by a despot, where we bombed them into a regime change that worked out perfectly fine for our democratic values? No. Never happened. Never. So forget regime change in Iran. I got my own regime change here in America that needs doing. Can you name one bombing campaign that resulted in regime change, in the type of regime change that was promised to us before we dropped the bombs? Can you name one example? I know some of you are going to say Serbia. Maybe. Bill Clinton and NATO bombed Serbia in 1999, but they didn't do that to topple Slobodan Milosevic. His being thrown out of office was an accidental byproduct of the NATO bombing campaign. He was overthrown a year later in what was called the bulldozer revolution. But I'll give it to you. So if you're going to leave a comment and say, what about Milosevic? Maybe the NATO bombing of Serbia accidentally contributed to creating a climate that was conducive for Milosevic to be overthrown a year later. I'm not sure. But that wasn't how they sold the bombing campaign to us. We bombed Serbia to get Milosevic out of Kosovo, to pull out of Kosovo. So it was a success. Bill Clinton, Wesley Clark, it was some would say a successful bombing campaign, maybe, that's subject to debate. And maybe it contributed to the Serbians overthrowing Milosevic. Maybe. That's the one example. If you have any legitimate, honest-to-God examples of where we were promised that our bombs would create a regime change that ushered in democracy in the region, and it did, let me know. I love being wrong. This is the Mop-Up. I'm David Feldman in New York City. Leave a comment. I read all your comments. And hit the like button so I remain in your feed, please. Subscribe to my channel. This is an audio podcast. You can download this. You can take me wherever you're going, on a drive, on a walk, killing spree, whatever. Please subscribe to the show as an audio podcast.